Hello! I wasn't supposed to fall for him. Not him, of all people. But if I'm being honest, it didn't feel like falling. It felt like getting caught in a current I never saw coming. Swept up, pulled under, and by the time I realized what was happening, I didn't want to swim back to shore. It started when I moved to Chicago after college. I had landed a job at a small marketing firm downtown, and the pay was just enough to keep me fed, caffeinated, and squeezed into a half-decent apartment. The place was nothing special. Thin walls, unreliable heating, but it was mine, and it felt like a step in the right direction. I was still settling in when my upstairs neighbor introduced himself. Loud knock, confident voice, tall shadow through the peephole. "Hey, I'm Eli," he said when I opened the door. Figured I'd say what's up before we start the passive-aggressive noise complaints. I laughed. He had that effortless charm you only see in people who've never had to try too hard. Tousled hair, a hoodie with the sleeves pushed up. That kind of easy, crooked smile that makes your brain short-circuit for half a second. I shook his hand. "Nice to meet you. I'm Theo." From then on, it was casual. We'd bump into each other in the hall, exchange small talk in the mailroom, make fun of the landlord's weird obsession with beige paint. Sometimes I'd hear him playing guitar through the ceiling at night, soft, clumsy chords drifting down like echoes. I didn't think much of it at first. Eli was clearly straight. The kind of guy who talked about ex-girlfriends in the same breath as fantasy football and weed. He was warm, loud, magnetic. The type who made friends wherever he went without realizing it. I was not that. Quiet, careful, better with text than face-to-face. I kept to myself. Not because I wanted to, but because it had always felt safer. Still, Eli had a way of cracking that shell without even trying. One night, a week or so after we first met, I came home to find him sitting on the front steps, hoodie zipped up, a beer dangling from one hand. "Rough day?" I asked. He looked up and gave me that lopsided smile. "Want to hear about it?" "Not particularly." "Cool," he said, patting the step beside him. "I'll tell you anyway." I sat. We talked. And then it became a thing. Post-work porch therapy, we started calling it. Some nights it was just 5 minutes of venting. Other times we stayed out past midnight, talking about everything from exes to who had the worst boss. We got comfortable, maybe too comfortable. Then came the night, everything shifted. I was halfway through a bottle of wine, grading a stack of reports on my laptop, when I heard the familiar thud-thud-thud of Eli's steps above me. A pause. Then a knock at my door. I opened it to find him standing there barefoot in sweatpants, holding 2 slices of pizza on a paper plate. "Trade you this for some of that wine," he said. I didn't hesitate. He flopped onto my couch like he owned it. We watched bad reality TV, made snarky commentary, laughed until my face hurt. At some point, I looked over and caught him watching me. Not in the usual way, not like a friend. His expression was soft, curious, like he was seeing me for the first time, and he wasn't sure how to handle it. I looked away, heart stuttering in my chest, told myself I was imagining it. But that night, when he left, his hand brushed mine at the door. Light, brief, but electric. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I woke up way too early and way too alert for someone who hadn't slept. My brain wouldn't stop replaying the night before, the way Eli looked at me, the way his fingers skimmed mine. It had to mean something, right? But by the time I saw him again, it was like nothing had happened. He passed me in the stairwell the next evening, hoodie pulled up, earbuds in, gave me a casual yo, and kept moving. My heart sank a little. Maybe it really had been nothing, a slip, a coincidence. I was probably reading too much into it. Again. I spent that weekend alone, trying not to let it get to me. I watched movies, cleaned the kitchen, did laundry. All the while, Eli's laugh played on a loop in the back of my mind like some kind of glitchy soundtrack. Then Monday came, and with it, a knock on my door. I opened it to find him standing there, with a half smile and a sheepish look in his eyes. "Hey, you free?" I stepped aside wordlessly, letting him in. He didn't say much at first. Just sat on the arm of my couch, bouncing one knee like he had too much energy and no idea what to do with it. Finally, he looked up at me. "I've been thinking about the other night," he said. My throat went dry. "Yeah? Did I do something weird?" That threw me. "Weird how?" He scratched the back of his neck. "I don't know, I was drunk. I touched your hand, and I saw your face. It felt like maybe it meant something, and I don't know what the hell to do with that." I stared at him. My chest felt like it was being squeezed from the inside. He was serious. "You didn't do anything wrong," I said quietly. His shoulders relaxed a fraction. "So I didn't creep you out?" "No." "Then what did I do?" I let the silence stretch between us. A long, deep breath. Then another. "You touched me like you wanted to," I said. "And then you looked at me like you didn't hate the idea." Eli blinked. His mouth opened, then closed again. For once, he looked lost for words. He stood up, rubbing his palms together nervously. "Can I ask you something? And I swear I'm not trying to be a freak." "Go for it." "Have you always known that I'm gay?" "Yeah, since high school," I said. "You?" He hesitated. "No, I mean, God, I don't know, maybe? I've messed around a few times, but I never thought much about it. It just never felt like a thing I had to define. And now?" He looked at me, his eyes a little too wide. "Now it feels like maybe it's more than that." The room was quiet. A car passed outside. Somewhere upstairs, someone dropped something heavy. And in that moment, I had no idea what the rules were anymore. "I'm not asking for anything," he said quickly. I trust you. I don't know why this is happening, but I don't want to pretend like it's not." I felt something shift inside me, a wall giving way. "I don't either." He smiled, and this time it wasn't crooked or cocky, it was just real. Then he sat down next to me. Close, but not too close, like he was waiting for permission. I didn't move away. The next few days felt like we were walking a tightrope. Nothing had really changed. Eli still knocked on my door with leftover pizza, still complained about his shitty job, still left empty beer bottles on my counter like it was his apartment. But the air between us was different, tighter, charged. Sometimes he'd catch my eye and hold it just a second too long. Sometimes I'd hear his footsteps above me late at night, pacing, stopping, pacing again. We didn't talk about what he said, not directly, but something was definitely shifting. Then one night, I came home to find him leaning against my door like he'd been waiting. "Thought you had plans," I said. Bailed. He didn't elaborate, just followed me inside. He moved with that restless energy he always had when something was on his mind. I handed him a beer. He didn't take it. "I was at my sister's place earlier," he said, pacing slowly across the living room. "She had a barbecue. Everyone brought their kids, husbands, wives, the usual." I nodded, not sure where this was going. My cousin asked when I was bringing someone around. He looked over at me, eyes unreadable. I told her I wasn't dating anyone. "Okay, but I thought about you." My heart stopped. I kept picturing what it would be like if I had brought you. Just you, standing there with a plate of ribs and my mom trying to feed you her potato salad. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. Eli sat down beside me, his voice quieter now. "I think I've been avoiding this for a long time. Like, really avoiding it. I kept telling myself I was just chill, that I didn't need labels. But the truth is, I was scared shitless of what it might mean if I actually liked a guy." He rubbed his hands together. "Especially a guy like you." I let that sit for a second. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you're not a fling. You're not some experiment. You're you." I swallowed hard, my fingers curled against my knee. "I don't know how to do this," he said, eyes darting to mine. "But I don't want to pretend anymore." I could feel my pulse in my throat, loud and relentless. "You don't have to know everything," I said. "You just have to be honest." He looked at me, really looked. And then, so slowly it barely registered at first, he leaned in. It wasn't a hungry kiss or some dramatic movie moment. It was soft, cautious, like he was asking a question, and I answered him. When we pulled apart, we both let out a breath at the same time. It was almost funny how relieved we looked. "That okay?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah," I said, "more than okay." He smiled again, but this time it was shy, like he was discovering something new in himself, something delicate. Then he curled up beside me on the couch, his arm brushing mine. We didn't say much after that, just sat in the quiet, watching the city lights flicker through the window. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't overthinking. I was just there, with him. The weirdest part wasn't the kiss. It was how normal everything felt afterward. He didn't ghost me. I didn't panic. There wasn't some big fallout or identity crisis. We just kept existing, quietly orbiting each other, like planets that had finally realized they were part of the same system. The next morning, he texted me like nothing had changed. "Eli, you up?" Me. "You texted that like we're hooking up." "Eli, aren't we?" Me. "Eli, I'm kidding. Chill. Want coffee?" So I met him on the stoop, 2 iced lattes between us, the sun climbing over the buildings like it had a hangover. We didn't talk about the kiss. Instead, we argued about whether oat milk was a scam and why his socks never matched. But the space between us had shifted, closer now. Intimate in a way that wasn't about touching. It was the way his knee brushed mine and didn't move, the way he looked at me over the rim of his cup like we shared a secret no one else got to have. I was starting to let myself enjoy it, starting to imagine what it would look like, being with him in a way that went beyond pizza and porch therapy. But of course, the universe has timing like a drunk toddler with a loaded paintball gun. It happened at the worst possible time. A random Tuesday night, pouring rain, my Wi-Fi down, Eli on my couch again, this time wearing sweatpants, and the sweatshirt I thought I'd lost 3 weeks ago. We were watching some dumb reality dating show. He was yelling at the screen like he actually cared who got a rose, and then his phone buzzed. One glance at the name, and his entire body tensed. "Who is it?" I asked, before I could stop myself. He hesitated. "Jess." I didn't say anything, but he must have seen the change in my face. "She's no one," he added quickly. "Just someone I used to see." I nodded, eyes back on the screen, not watching it. He didn't say anything else, just kept looking at his phone like it might explode in his hand. After a minute, he put it face down on the coffee table and leaned back. "She's not important," he said again, softer this time. But that wasn't the part that got me. It was the fact that he hadn't deleted her number, that when she texted, he still looked like that. "I should go," I said, standing too fast. "Early meeting." "You okay?" "Yeah, just tired." He didn't stop me, didn't say anything, as I grabbed my jacket and left. And that should have been the end of it. Just a blip, a ghost from the past kicking up dust. But later that night, around 1 a.m., I heard footsteps upstairs, pacing, and then the sound of Eli's door opening and closing. He didn't come down. I didn't hear from him for 2 days. Not a text, not a knock, not even the familiar sound of him stomping around upstairs like a one-man band. And of course, I told myself I didn't care. I went to work, I came home, I ate microwave leftovers, I stared at my phone like it owed me an explanation. Nothing. By Friday night, I was spiraling. I kept refreshing his Instagram, even though I knew he barely used it. Every time I heard footsteps in the hallway, my stomach twisted. I told myself he was probably just figuring things out, that maybe Jess was just a bump in the road, that I shouldn't assume the worst. But then, around midnight, I saw his shadow move past my peephole. He stopped for a second outside my door, then kept walking. I opened it without thinking. Eli. He turned around, caught off guard. His hoodie was soaked, hair dripping, eyes red like he hadn't slept. I was just, He looked down at the pizza box in his hands. Didn't think you'd be up. I'm always up. A beat. Want to come in? He hesitated, then nodded. Inside, we didn't talk. I microwaved the pizza. He stood by the window, watching the rain smear the city into a blur of lights and shadows. Finally, he spoke. She called me. I didn't say anything. She's in town. Wanted to meet for coffee. Still, I said nothing. I just stood there, holding 2 slices of pepperoni like they were weapons. I didn't go. That got my attention. I looked up. His expression was unreadable, but his voice was steady. I thought about it. I even got in my car, but halfway there, I realized I didn't want to be anywhere else but here. I didn't trust my voice, so I sat down and gestured for him to do the same. He did. I've been in my own head too much, he said, rubbing his hands over his face. Trying to figure out if this is real, if I'm real, if what I'm feeling is allowed. You don't have to figure it all out tonight. He exhaled, eyes locked on mine. But I want to. I nodded slowly. Then start with what you want right now. He looked at me, really looked at me. And whatever he saw must have been enough, because the next second, he was leaning in again. But this time it wasn't soft or cautious. It was messy, hungry, honest. His hand gripped the back of my neck, mine fisted in his hoodie. We kissed like we had something to prove and nothing left to lose. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. You don't scare me, he said. I smiled, forehead still resting against his. Good, because I'm scared enough for both of us. He laughed, low and shaky. Then we just sat there in the dark, tangled together, with the sound of the rain as our only witness. After that night, something shifted between us, for real this time. It wasn't just the late-night texts or shared leftovers anymore. We fell into this strange rhythm, half roommates, half something more. He'd crash on my couch and not leave until morning. I'd start buying cereal I didn't even like just because it was his favorite. His sweatshirt found a permanent spot on the back of my chair. My books started showing up on his windowsill upstairs. We didn't label it, didn't talk about it. But the way he looked at me when he thought I wasn't watching said more than any label could. Still, every now and then, something would slip. A look, a flinch, a shadow of fear in his voice when we brushed too close in public. He wasn't out. Not really, at least not in the way I was. And I never pushed. Until the night he invited me to his friend's birthday. It was at a bar on the west side, one of those low-lit places with overpriced drinks and neon signs that tried too hard. The moment we walked in, I could tell Eli was different. Straighter posture, louder laugh. He clapped his buddies on the back, tossed casual jokes, acted like everything was cool. And I was suddenly invisible. He didn't introduce me to anyone, didn't even mention my name, just kept me at arm's length like I was someone he barely knew. I tried to play it off, nursing my drink, pretending not to care. But around midnight, he disappeared. No word, no text. I stood there in a corner of a bar full of strangers, trying not to look like I'd been stood up by the guy who kissed me 3 nights ago, like he couldn't breathe without me. Eventually, I left. I was halfway home, walking with my hands stuffed in my jacket pockets, when I heard my name. Theo, I turned. Eli was jogging toward me, breath visible in the cold air, hair a mess. Where'd you go? He asked, like I was the one who vanished. I don't know. Maybe I just got tired of being your secret. That stopped him cold. He didn't speak for a second. You think that's what this is? He said, finally, voice low. I think that's what it feels like, I said. You can kiss me in the dark, but you won't say my name when the lights are on. he exhaled sharply, running a hand over his face. It's not like that. Then what is it? I don't know, he snapped. I'm trying. I'm figuring it out. And what am I supposed to do in the meantime? Pretend this doesn't hurt? He didn't answer, just looked at me with something tangled in his expression. Guilt, fear, longing, all of it. I'm not ashamed of you, he said finally. I swear. Then stop acting like you are. He stepped closer. I don't want to lose you. You're not going to lose me, I said, but you can't keep me hidden either. His eyes searched mine. I'm not ready. I nodded. Then we wait, but I won't disappear for you. You don't get to have it both ways. He reached for my hand. Just a quick squeeze, like he was grounding himself. Then he let go. Okay, he said softly. I hear you. And for once, I believed him. Things didn't magically get easier after that night. Eli didn't suddenly become some banner-waving queer icon. And I didn't stop second-guessing every time he introduced me as just Theo. But something real happened in that moment. He started showing up with intention, not just physically, but in the small, quiet ways that matter more than grand gestures. He started holding eye contact longer when we were out, let his hand brush mine and didn't pull away immediately. Introduced me to a friend, just one, but called me a good friend of mine in a tone that felt heavier than the words. It was progress. Slow, fragile, sometimes frustrating progress. But it was ours. One night, maybe 2 weeks after the blow-up, he knocked on my door around 10 p.m. No hoodie, no pizza, just him. He looked nervous. I want to cook for you, he said. I blinked. Are you trying to poison me? Fair, he laughed. But no. I've been watching those YouTube recipe videos with the calming voiceovers. I think I can swing pasta. I let him in, more curious than hungry. He cooked while I sat on the counter, legs swinging, sipping wine and watching him squint at his phone, like the pasta timer was a bomb. The food was edible. Slightly overcooked noodles. Sauce that definitely came from a jar, but it was hot and homemade and I could see how hard he was trying. We ate at my tiny table, knees bumping. No music, no TV, just soft clinks of forks and the occasional laugh. Halfway through, he set his fork down and looked at me. I've been thinking, he said, eyes locked on mine, about coming out. My heart paused mid-beat. I'm not saying I'm ready to tell everyone, he continued, but maybe a few people. My sister, my cousin Mike, people who won't make it weird. You don't have to do this for me, I said. I'm not, he replied. I'm doing it for me. But also, kind of, because of you. That hit harder than I expected. I swallowed, unsure how to respond. Is that okay? He asked. I smiled, something warm blooming in my chest. Yeah, that's more than okay. Later, after the dishes were forgotten in the sink and the lights were dim, we sat on the couch, his head on my shoulder. His fingers found mine. No hesitation. This still scares the shit out of me, he murmured. I know, I said, brushing my thumb over his knuckles. It scares me too sometimes. He shifted, his lips grazing my neck, voice soft. But you feel safe. I closed my eyes. You feel like home, he whispered. And in that moment, I knew, no matter how slow or messy this got, we were building something real. The night he came out to his sister, I waited upstairs in my apartment, pacing, trying not to wear a hole into the floor. He'd asked me not to come. Said he needed to do it alone. Said it wasn't about hiding me. It was about proving to himself he could do it without leaning on someone else. I respected that. I even believed him. But it didn't make the waiting any easier. Then around 9:15, my phone buzzed. Eli, you up? Me. You're literally texting me this from downstairs. Eli. Yeah, but it felt poetic. I barely had time to laugh before I heard his knock. He walked in, cheeks pink from the cold, and eyes brighter than I'd seen in weeks. Well? She cried, he said. Happy cried. Then told me she always kind of knew. That's because you wear socks with pineapples on them. Shut up, I smiled, stepping closer. I'm proud of you. He looked at me for a second, really looked, then kissed me like he meant it. No hesitation, no looking over his shoulder. When we pulled apart, he leaned his forehead against mine. "She asked if I was seeing someone," he said. "I told her yes." "And?" "She said she hoped he was hot." I laughed. "Did you tell her I'm not?" "Not yet," he smirked. Didn't want to break her heart. We ended up curled on the couch, half under a blanket, a dumb movie playing in the background. He fell asleep with his head in my lap, hand tucked into my hoodie pocket, like it belonged there. And that's how it's been ever since. It's not perfect. He still flinches sometimes when a coworker asks about his weekend. Still has days when he retreats a little too far into himself. But he always comes back. And when he does, it's with something new. Another wall down, another thread tying us closer. We've started going out more. Not holding hands in the street out, but shoulder brushing in a way that says, "I see you" out. Progress. The last time we saw his sister, she brought up Christmas. "You two should come together," she said, handing me a second beer without missing a beat. I didn't even have to look at him to know what he was thinking. I just nodded. "Yeah," I said. "We will." Later that night, as we walked home under the streetlights, Eli slipped his hand into mine, and this time, he didn't let go. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.